All right, everybody, welcome to class 4, part 3 of tonalism, mystery, memory, and imagination. We've covered a huge amount. My arms are going to be sore. A lot of painting, but it was a lot of fun. And now we're going to take a peek at our Padlet page and see what you guys have been sharing this week. It will be shorter since we're already 15 minutes over, but hopefully we'll get a chance to kind of see what everybody's been doing. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight myself and then share the screen. All right, great. Everybody can see the Padlet page?
Yeah.
All right, so here quickly is a little short video I did last Thursday of just preparing the wood panels. Again, this is a little bit experimental. I do talk about the house primer that I've been using. So I hope it works. It seems to be working really well, but it's not something I've really, the paintings haven't had time to really test and see. But anyways, that is there. I talk about the house primer. I talk about painting the edges black. I talk about painting the front and the back. I talk about how many coats of gesso. All of that's there. The class videos from last week are also there. Online links. Here is what Meg just shared. Thank you so much, Meg. About using that primer. A lot of my friends really like using that primer. I don't love it as much as gesso just because it is slicker. But it is really great, especially for covering old oil paintings. You should not gesso over an oil painting, just so you know. That's putting an acrylic or a water-based paint over an oil. So what I do oftentimes is, Sandy talked about the mud you can save at the end of the painting process, just making a big pile. Sometimes I use that, just using a bunch of oil paint and then setting that aside to dry for weeks. Or this is what most people use, is the Gamblin Oil Prime. Great product. Again, most people I know love it. I've had a little more difficulty with it. I'll have to watch this video and then figure out what I've either been doing wrong or what I can do to be better at it in the future. Handout for this week, the Zorn palette in limited color. I went ahead and added a bunch of notes, which I just copy and pasted from other websites on there. So please read that. You should have received it in your email if you do want to print it up. Talked about the questions from class. I believe we got them all covered. Thank you, Meg, also for sharing this about the quinacridone gold. Thought that was pretty interesting information, and that they are selling it again, but it is a quinacridone gold hue, which means a synthetic or a created version of the color. So like if I was doing the green gold oil paint and I just said, oh, I can make it with manganese blue and Indian yellow, I would probably call it green gold oil paint hue, because it's not probably how they make it, but I made a very similar version of it. For reference photos, I went ahead and posted the photo from today. I've got a weird thing lately where I've actually been taking the images into my filter and blurring them out, so I don't see all the details. So I apologize, but at least you know your sight's not going when you look at that one or this one, that I actually blurred them out purposely. Just because it forces me to kind of make it up and change some things. All right, again, please share artists if you're seeing work that you really appreciate. I'm just gonna quickly scan across. It looks like Becky, I don't think shared anything new that we haven't talked about there. Bonnie's 3 hours ago. Look at you. Are you still here? It was Bonnie who had to leave. I think Bonnie was the one that had to take off. So I'm just gonna skip across just because we don't have time. So when you guys get a chance, go and look at what Bonnie's doing, and leave comments and everything else. I'm just gonna keep moving.
Look at mine.
What's that? Look at yours. Okay, and there's Brooke here. can pop up the screen to be bigger so I can see who's here. All right, looks like a lot of people had to leave. So Brooke, also, we're gonna say the same thing. Let's go through and please leave comments, give feedback. And we'll get back to this. And for anybody that's not here and watches this video and is like, oh man, I was really hoping they would get to it, just remind me next time. And I'll make sure to get to everybody who wasn't able to be here. Cheryl is traveling still. It's been a lot of fun to see what she's doing and what she's sharing. So Cheryl, we miss you. Can't wait for you to be back. Hope you're having a great trip. And Darlene, what have you been up to?
Yeah, well, what I did some glazing on those, but they both still look pretty much the same. I am going to try something different now after what I was thinking last night. So like I said, the two I worked on them, but you really can't, they're not a whole lot different. The one in acrylic looks almost identical to the one I did in oil because I glazed it, but I'm like I said, I'm gonna redo it.
All right,
I got a
just
better
a
idea.
helpful hint, when you are painting and you think you're gonna glaze or you think you might wanna glaze on it later, paint it a value or two lighter than you think. Because glazing is always gonna darken your paint, even if it's a bright yellow or, bright fluorescent pink like I used today. It's still gonna darken the colors, the values just a little bit, so
Okay,
that may be a reason that it's not showing up, is that you're putting a real light color on
Okay.
top of an already grayed down or darkened area.
oh,
You
and
may
then,
wanna think about scumbling more than glazing.
okay. One more question. For instance, the trees on the left and its reflection in my photograph, it's basically black. And I'm, it's too solid and too black. So that's, you can see the photograph up above. And so I'm kind of curious about what to do to, take away from that heavy black look.
Okay, great question. And that happens all the time. So when we take photos, if our sky is in focus, typically the shadows are gonna be darkened out. The camera is trying to figure out what you think is interesting when you're taking the picture. Oftentimes, if I know it's gonna be a painting or a photo that I think might be a painting, I will take one photo and I will touch the sky on my iPhone and take that photo, because it's gonna focus. When you touch your screen, you're telling it what part of the image you want it to focus on and to
Okay.
bring it out. Then I'll take a photo and I'll touch into the shadows, into the darks. It's gonna bleach your sky out, but you'll get the information in your shadows. And then if I really know what I'm, that I'm gonna like it, I will try to find a mid area, a mid value, and touch there, and it will do its best to kind of get a little bit of all the information. And a lot of times when I'm painting from multiple photos. The other thing, let's just say you don't have that. We talked to Meg about this last week in her creek painting with the big dark tree on the left, is I will just look for references. Just because it's in your photo doesn't mean it needs to be in your painting, or just because it's in your photo doesn't mean you need to paint it like the photo. So we are, as I like to say, painting is an open book test, right? We have the internet, we have 1 bazillion million, I think trillion, 100,000, I don't know. We have lots of photos on the internet. And some of them aren't nudity. And we can look at those and so you can just look up literally pictures of trees, look up pictures of, and you probably have hundreds of photos. So when I'm painting, most often I will have multiple images of pictures from famous artists that I like, color schemes that I like. I'll listen to a certain song, I'll pull up, multiple pictures, because we are getting our information from everywhere, and the goal then is just to make it harmonious and to make it work together.
Thank you.
Good questions. And Denise, are you still with us?
Yes, I don't know if you can hear me.
I surely can. It's good to hear your voice. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing good. I have problem with insomnia. Sorry I'm late.
That's all right. Well, sorry you have insomnia. That's tough.
Well, I like your class because you can check in at different times when you're when you can schedule it.
Yeah, you can watch it at 2 or 3 in the morning if you want.
Yes.
Beautiful photo. Is this near your house up there?
Yes, it's just down the hill from my home.
Yep, so we're all very jealous. And look at this perfect tree line. We should share this with Meg for her painting. Beautiful photo, beautiful lake. So yeah, what have you been painting since I mean, I saw you out plein air painting at Sabi Island a month or two ago. That was awesome. What have you been working on lately?
Well, the photo below is my attempt at the estuary, I guess you call it, or a marsh. And
Out at Sabi?
no, this is a photograph reference. I don't know where I found it, but I've had it for a long time. I posted it down below.
Okay. Love the trees.
Oh, thank you. I wasn't sure if you can see the reference photo, the forest in the background's really black looking. And so I created my own forest, but I'm not sure if it makes sense visually that the forest in the background is dark. I guess it's okay. Because you think of things in the distance as being paler, lighter.
Yeah, generally into the shadows, yeah. But again, the camera to get this sky color just said, okay, Denise cares about this more than she cares about this. So again, what I was just saying with Darlene, if you want that information, you'd have to take more than one photo generally. But no, I like your forest more than this. I think this is just a big lump.
Oh, thank you. So
I
you
find
think the
that to be
value that
a lot
I
more
have.
interesting. Wouldn't you guys agree? Isn't that much more interesting than just a big lump of dark?
Yes. I like the variety she has in her background more too.
Exactly right. Exactly right.
Okay, well, I was considering going over it with the colors, maybe the Zorn palette or just some muted greens like you were demonstrating the other day. Try to come up with the
Absolutely.
right colors for the evening. Since I'm
Great.
not going to copy the photograph colors, I don't want it to be a daytime, as you can see by the setting sun. So I guess just take a chance and start putting the color on.
Right. A couple quick pieces of advice. I know what this is. It's in your reference. And it's kind of interesting in the reference. Kind of, again, looks like what I'm painting right now, my crocodiles, now porcupine crocodiles. It kind of looks like a porcupine, submerged in the water.
Yeah.
So a lot of times this becomes kind of a focal point, right? It's surrounded. It's, it makes me want this to be important. And I'm not positive it is either in your photo or here. I don't know if I would have taken it out or broken it up and made it more interesting or connected it. This is distracting to me.
Okay.
Then the other thing would be your reflections of the grasses here. At the risk of sounding a little bit mean, it looks like you got a little bit lazy. And then you just, reflection of grass, reflection of glass, reflection of grass, and you drew a bunch of lines. Again, these are the two things that attract my attention after this. Your background, I love it. But now my attention comes to these and I find them a little bit distracting. I think you can soften the reflections of the grass, or just, they're just boring and very, very, very horizontal.
Okay.
Whereas I think probably the grasses they're reflecting are probably all over the place. And then, yeah, I would decide what to do with your porcupine.
Oh, okay. Well, I could soften the visible lines in it and make it.
Right, I'm
good.
wondering, yeah, if there was a more subtle transition, so it became part of the thing.
What
I
I
don't
was trying to do is emphasize how to the right side of the porcupine, the light wraps around that little porcupine, and then it you know, to me, I thought it was kind of a rhythm or a directional type of uh mass over there on the far right with the water showing. I was trying to
Yeah,
get your
and you could definitely, I could 100% be wrong, and it could be other people's favorite points. And I totally get it, that's where I was kind of looking at it and looked at the reference, I'm like, yeah, it is kind of cool, like. It makes sense, but maybe it's the soft edges where it kind of disappears more versus all
Uh-huh.
being.
aha, I see what you
And you're
mean.
right, I mean, the reflections of these grasses are pretty horizontal, so. I see what you're looking at there. Yeah, those are just two things that kind of reared their head as I was looking at it. I'd be curious what other people thought, if you guys have opinions on any of those two things, because I think we all agree the background's fantastic. What would you guys do with this? Would you leave it alone? Would you maybe make some of it more subtle?
I'd make it smaller. And if you want that water to wrap around it, maybe make it wrap around it on the top too and break that up.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
I like that idea, Gail.
Yeah, because I think the contrast between the light and the dark is pretty strong on the far right, which is what pulls our eye over there.
Mhm.
Uh-huh.
And I think maybe that's, for me, what's pulling it. So maybe like warming it up and maybe having that bright light part less noticeable. Yeah, maybe make it smaller. I don't know.
Or
Yeah, it's
just-
an interesting one. So what I often do, Denise, when I'm looking through a photo, I wish I would have done it today, you know, the one I attacked today, but is I kind of go through and I literally have this little game of, is it helping or is it hurting? And if it's hurting, can I change it so that it's helping, like the shape, like what you did back here, right? You said, okay, that big shape is boring and it's so dark, what can I do? Okay, it's hurting. Let's make it interesting. Let's give it some life. And now it's helping. So I'll kind of do that with most of the elements in my painting. And another reminder is a lot of times the whole less is more thing. And generally a good design is when you've taken out the most things you could take out to still tell the story, but actually
Okay.
help to tell the story concisely. So I'm not saying this is, you know, this or that, you know, but it does become part of the story, and yeah. I mean,
Okay,
sure,
so-
I would just take it out, and I think the whole painting would be better.
Really?
I think so.
I agree.
Take out the porcupine?
You
Yes.
got the porcupine. I was like trying to think of like if we added more, you know, more grasses coming through the water or whatever. I don't know, but I don't. The story is halfway about this. It's halfway about this, and it's halfway about this. And I don't know if that's the story you're telling.
I think the story is it's supposed to be the light of the setting sun.
But I think to the right, the light that you like coming behind it, I think that is leading the eye off the page, off the painting. And I think if you took it out, added grasses on the bank on the far right-hand side, like right in there, and then let those reflect in the water, still, even though it still can have little ripples and softness, but it would keep your eye from going off the canvas. And you would have more reflection of the beautiful light from the water on the river. But that's just my opinion.
Okay, well,
Yeah,
I guess
these-
I'll just play
No,
around with
these are
it.
all just thoughts and ideas. None of us are right and none of us are wrong. They're all just, you know, thoughts and ideas. But yeah, I think your background is so beautiful. I think you've got an interesting thing going on here. So I didn't want to pick on it, but that is kind of where my attention goes. After here, it goes to here.
Yeah.
Down,
Okay, I think I'll just start over. Just make it again.
Take it out of that one. Don't start
yeah,
over.
don't start over.
Fix that
Well,
one.
I'm thinking I'm gonna have to use some serious white paint to cover up the porcupine.
Right, but because if you're feeling like you want to start over, that tells me that you're not feeling like it's too precious. So go ahead and play with it.
Oh, yeah, okay. Well, I just want, one last thing I want to clarify, Michael, is that you're telling me that the way I did the grasses is kind of a little bit too, maybe symmetrical or boring. And that should
And
be
the problem
better.
is I do see it in the reference, like they are like that. They're so, normally, at least the grasses I live around are more like this. See how they're bent and turned and, not just straightened down. But when I
Uh-huh.
see the reference, yeah, the reflections are like that. They're just straight up and down. I would probably in that case just soften them.
Okay.
When I took stuff out of my painting, I just rubbed it out with a little paint thinner and I was able to not have to paint over with a bunch of other paint.
What was that?
You could try rubbing out the parts you don't like with paint thinner. That worked for me for a couple paintings.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I could see how that might work. Uh-huh.
This in oils or acrylics?
Oil.
Oils, okay.
Okay, well, thank you, everybody. Thank you,
Yeah, I
Michael.
mean, part of me is even like, okay, let's say you can't wipe it off. Let's just bring your foreground up, throw some tall grasses and things over it, so it's not. I don't know. Yeah, it's a good question. Hopefully we're, it's a great painting, so we just want it to be greater.
Okay, well, thank you. I really appreciate your input. I'll just
Very beautiful.
see what I can do to change it.
Great. All right. Diane Edwards peeked her head in for a little while today. That was great. And Diane Lewis also on vacation. Look at all these people out exploring the world while I'm in my dark studio talking to you guys.
Poor Michael.
Yeah, no, I love it. The world's scary to me. And is Don still with us? Yeah, unfortunately, I'm just gonna cruise through because I need to go get lunch and breakfast. All right, Gail, tell us about your underpainting here.
Well, the painting for the assignment is below that. That one. And that was another Payne's Gray wipe away, and then I just glazed over it. So it's just straight glaze over it and underpainting.
Oh, wow.
That's really interesting. So it still has that glowy effect like a wipe away painting, but you did it on top. So that's fun. That's kind of what I'm trying to experiment with. So I'm not so protective of my underpainting. How did you feel about that?
I had to leave it sit for a while, and then I debated whether or not I wanted to go back over the glaze. I was thinking that maybe the brightness around the trees in the background was too much, and I needed to go in and knock that back a little bit. I debated whether or not I wanted to go in with more opaque green paint and do something with the trees. And at the end of it, I just left it.
Okay, I could see, I think that you have this beautiful, aura glow, and it's going all the way across.
Yeah, and I thought
So
that was
you
too
can
much.
control the focus a little more by having a little less in certain areas. I
Okay.
kind of assume your light is kind of softly coming through here,
Yes.
but I think
Okay.
that it kind of contained it.
All right, I will do that then, because that's what I was really debating, that it was too much of a glow, too even across, kind of just followed the trees and needed to be knocked back in a couple of areas.
Right, that filter where you can kind of make it so it has like a darker border around it. I almost feel like it could use a little bit of that.
Yeah, I can do that.
Cool.
And then the one up above, I'm just playing with different surfaces. That's the surface that I like the best.
Woo, yeah.
And the gallery has asked that I paint much larger, and I cannot get the surface that I prefer, you know, my favorites are that large. So I'm experimenting. So that's the surface I love. And I've got 2 smaller boards that are the slick surface, the ultra smooth. And I'm going to do, I gessoed one, and I'm going to do today's assignment on that gessoed board to see if I can move the paint around the way I like to. And then I've got the second one I was going to attempt to do an underpainting similar to this, only using acrylics. I was going to try and go to the dark side just to see.
Interesting, yeah, well, you'll build up your texture and, yeah, I think you're going to enjoy that. I'll be curious, acrylics on a really slick surface. You know,
That's-
if Cheryl
didn't
was
know
here,
if it would-
she'd be able to tell us, but
Yeah.
yeah.
I didn't know if it would stick or not, but I need something that sticks better.
I
And that's
mean,
what-
acrylics and gesso are very similar, so. I imagine it will stick, you'll just have to kind of leave it to let it kind of set up for a little bit.
Okay,
But the neat thing about acrylics is you can, 2 hours later revisit it and add more, 2 hours later do more.
and paint white over it if I don't like it, right?
Exactly, right, yeah.
Well, that's what I'm gonna try. I've got one of them I gessoed, and just touching it, it feels very close to this board. But am gonna try the acrylic underpainting to see if I can duplicate this kind of an underpainting with acrylic on the ultra smooth.
That's
they-
really cool
they
for
al-
us because we are, we'll get to learn from your experiments
My
too, so.
mistakes.
Beautiful.
Dale, do they offer that in rolls where you could just mount it on?
No, I don't use canvas at all. I really dislike the texture of, and I dislike the texture. I really like working with something that's smooth because I can go in and do wipe away and add and get the really soft edges, and manipulate the paint just a whole lot more on a smooth surface. But that said, this is technically called a medium texture, and it has some absorption to it, which, like I said, I gessoed one of the boards, and it feels to the touch right now like it has duplicated this surface.
Oh, that would be good for you.
Mhm.
What is the board called?
It's a Da Vinci panel. This is,
It's under resources here.
yeah, it's Da Vinci panel, and it's medium textured.
Oh, no, I don't have it on here.
I think I put it on mine instead of on the resource board.
Okay. I'll look at it, thank you.
It's way down there, I think. No, I lied. I'll put it on the resource one, but this is the panel
There
yeah,
it
there it is.
I
That's-
think you put it in your comment.
That's the one I use, and that's the one I absolutely love for wipe away and all that kind of stuff. And I'm trying to duplicate it on much, much, much larger boards.
Yeah. Well, that's good. I hope you sell lots more paintings.
Yeah,
So,
congratulations, and that's always such a nice compliment when a gallery's like bigger.
yeah. Yeah, they want a 30 by 40 and 36 by 48, and I think 16 by 20 is the biggest I've ever done, so that's a
Wow.
lot.
They
The
come up-
funny thing is it
Right.
feels like it's gonna take a lot longer, but it really doesn't.
I need
How'd they
the-
come up with such precise sizes?
Well, because that's a normal size for a board, I guess. And people, they tell me the people up there, and that's changed lately too, because it's North Carolina. It's Clayton and the Highlands, so they didn't get hit like Asheville did, but they got hit. They've got a lot of roads washed out.
That'll give you a little bit of time to make those paintings, and then they're gonna have to
Exactly.
replace all the paintings that got
Yeah.
lost, so.
Oh,
Yeah, I
these,
think there's some artists up there that lost everything.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, geez.
these southern homes have these big, tall ceilings and these big, expansive white walls. We live in one of those, and I can say, boy, I can't even think of how to interior decorate down here.
Yeah, that's what I gather.
Yeah.
And most of those homes are second and third homes, so they've kind of, they've got some money to burn apparently on the
Yeah.
big paintings.
All right.
So
And you're just the person to help them burn it.
help them burn it. That's right. Let me light a match
Try
for
to
you.
stop.
Great. All right. I saw, yeah, I totally recognized this when I saw it. I was like, that's a Hillary Scott reference. That's great. I love her work. She and I show together in a gallery, and yeah, I've always been a big fan of her. She works so hard. She's very inspirational for me.
My color scheme are actually from her different paintings, and yeah, this is the painting I tried to recreate using the scumbling technique, but I think painting was I think I should have waited a bit longer, but yeah, then it
Well,
becomes
the good news is with scumbling is you can just wait longer.
yeah, that's what I'm gonna do now. Wait longer. I try to
Maybe
like
get rid of this branch.
probably.
But
Yeah,
no, this is really good. I mean, you blocked in the big shapes really well. Like, I think you got,
It's
you know,
beautiful.
I saw yours and I thought of her painting, so without even knowing which painting it was. So that's why I shared that video. And then I was like, oh, you know, because you didn't mention it was a Hillary Scott. And I was like, oh, maybe that's rude. I deleted the video.
I really appreciate that. Yeah.
So hopefully you saw the video before I deleted it. I just didn't want you
Yeah,
to feel like I was trying to tell on you, like, oh.
I was looking forward to that event, but I missed it. But as I'm not a member, I
Ah.
couldn't get that link. Even I emailed them. They said it's only for a member. But yeah, I'm glad you shared that link. So yeah, I can probably watch her.
Yeah, she
Video.
doesn't talk a whole lot about her technique. She just more talks about how she's very busy and works.
Right. Then probably not.
I was hoping for more technique too, because I am a little bit curious, you know, how she does do all of this. You know, I can tell there's some glazing. I can tell she's doing some wet into wet. And, you know, I've seen pictures of her studio where it looks kind of like mine. She has a number of paintings kind of in process. I imagine she and I have a lot of the same inspirations of work, but she, and you know, the same kind of thing that we're attracted to, wetlands and marshes, and yeah, she does great work. I really like it. All right, so tell us a little bit about your process, what you did to build this up, because I think this is really nice.
Yeah. Beautiful. I think it's beautiful.
It is.
I love it.
Yeah, I try to like squeeze the values from like 1 to 5 and make like
Yeah.
6 variation.
Can
from
you
here.
explain what that means for Darlene and other new students?
Yeah, sure. So I've got a like value scale. Not sure if you can see it here. Let me see.
Yeah, we
Anyway,
can see.
yeah, there's a value scale. So this like yeah, dark to dark to light. So
Hold on one second. Give me 1 second.
Oh, thanks. So yeah, when I checked Hilary's painting, I found like those values that are really tight. So I took probably like middle value from here and made like 6 or 7 values out of it. Just basically made 2 values from here and there and keep mixing in the middle until I get like very close tight values. So and use that for background to foreground. Foreground is more yeah, value is higher.
And it's challenging, isn't it, when you take out a huge amount of the values? Let me ask you guys, is this something that you guys would like me to do a lesson on, maybe even next week of limiting values, going high? Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah.
I've got some fun exercises about that. Okay, perfect. Yeah, I can definitely see that, and it is tricky, you know, limiting your values, which is something I'm pushing myself towards as a personal challenge. A lot of times I'll do the painting and then be like, okay, that's fun, I did it, and it won't sell because I need that value, you know, that punch. So a lot of times I'll go back in and, you know, add that little punch of light. I'm pointing at your light coming through the tree, right? You guys can't see. Let me go back to share screen.
So yeah, I kept it a little darker because when I scramble over it with white paint, it will be more bright. So yeah, that was my thinking behind it. But yeah, I think I need to like start over until it's fully dried and probably like yeah.
Very nice, Hassan.
Thank you.
No, it's beautiful. And Hassan, my challenge for you this class, this whole class, all whatever the remaining 4 or 3 weeks, is I want you to be working on more than one painting. I understand you have limited space and everything else, but I really want you to have multiple paintings in multiple stages of completion.
Okay. Yeah,
It will help you in a number of ways, because you'll look at this and you're inspired by Hillary Scott's photo, but when it sits for a week or two, you'll get inspired by other things that you're like, oh, I could do that. Oh, I could do this. And it will help. I'm all for, copying masters' works or other people's artwork, but you can't sell this really now, right?
No.
Until you somehow, change it and make it your own. But that's still fine. I still want you guys to do that. I still want you to learn from other artists and everybody else. But it's a lot of fun to say, okay, I took Hillary's photo painting and I was inspired by it. And now I'm inspired by these other things, and how can I incorporate that into my paintings? But also, mostly is because I just don't want you to say, okay, I got 2 hours to paint tonight, walk in and just watch this painting dry. I want you to be working constantly. So whether that means, okay, I walked up, I wanted to work on this, but I touched it, it's not dry enough. Okay, that means I start another painting.
Okay. Yeah. That I really like wooden panel. So I have to probably like use your technique, like let it sit for a couple of days, and just the next day I'll probably try something else. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and I have found aiming a fan at it, even if it's on low, helps. Just to dry. Beautiful work. Love to see all these stages. This is one we talked about Thursday. If you just really quickly want to talk about the King's Blue, was it that you used? Yeah.
It was King's Blue. Yeah, I kept the middle one bright. I wanted to use white scumbling. So I again another failed painting. So anyway, but yeah, I tried to like include fog, but I probably like overdid it and it looks really off. So yeah, I'll probably paint over it or try to correct it. So yeah, that's why I did with the finished
Absolutely.
painting.
I agree with you. It looks off, but I think it looks fine as like, oh, this is just the next stage. Yeah, very cool. And yeah, I like that you're trying these new colors. Luckily, I already own King's Blue, so I didn't have to go buy this tube as well. It is a beautiful grayed down, kind of a purpley blue. Yeah, it's a nice color. All right. And I don't think John is
Get your view on this painting, Michael. So I think I'm kind of okay with the top half, but the bottom half, I don't think it's probably like goes well with the top half. So anything I can improve to make it more interesting, or
yes. So what you did was you did the lights coming through back here, more early kind of morning cool light, as I imagine it. It's streaking across here, it's hitting these sides, it's hitting this, which is getting a little bit warmer. So here's something really interesting that's happening. This is a little more complicated than what we'll deal with in color and stuff in the winter. But do you see this? It's darker, right? It's darker than this. But what's interesting is that it's warm. These are actually very, very warm greens.
Right.
And this is in shadow, so it can be warm. But I think if you come in, you can even glaze in with a blue or something. You can let some of this catch the light. But what's happening is you have cool background, which is normal. But then this is actually a warm olive green. And if we can bring in some cools, it'll help it feel more like this. The one thing I don't love is how spotty. So a little spot,
Mm.
a little spot, 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 a little spot. And then it's happening down here too, spot, spot, spot. I would prefer that you maybe connected a little more of your lights and shadows.
Mm-hmm.
It will feel less like puffs, like little
Yeah,
puffs
yeah.
thrown up. And it feels like, oh, I'm simplifying it. And yes, you are. But to me, yeah, it just feels like, yeah, they're so separate of each other.
I think if you look at this, my first color pass, that might be what you are referring to. Not this one, but I think.
But let's look at this.
Yeah.
Look at how cool these greens are.
Mm-hmm.
And that way where the light, the warm light is coming across, it feels warm. But you made it darker, which is great, because this is darker than this, right? In a way.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not warm, it's not hot.
Right, okay.
Does that make sense, you guys, or is that too weird?
Nope, that makes sense.
Okay, cool. It'll be like, yeah.
For your
I bet you if you literally took a blue glaze and put it over this, your heart would just go, ah, okay, thank you. Even if it's really thin, just to cool it down.
You're on the
Okay.
verge of greatness.
Is
Yeah.
this an example of what you mean when you say warm light, cool shadows?
Yep.
Okay. It's that temperature thing again. Okay.
Yeah, so there's a lot of red in this green. Which is
Right.
great. I understand what Hassan was doing because warm colors go up towards us, cool colors go away, but we also have to be aware of the light that is hitting or in the image.
Right. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I'm thankful that you had this photo because it shows it really well. Cool greens, warm greens.
Got you, yeah.
Cool greens in the shadows. Like you're still getting light that's reflecting off the dome of the sky, but none of it's being hit by light. The strong light that's raking across. So there are two different light sources. You have the direct light, which is warm, early morning sun or evening sun, I don't know which. And the cool light that's going from that, hitting the cool top of the dome of the sky and then bouncing back.
Got you, cool. So I'll simplify the shape and yeah, make the front a bit more cooler. Yeah, thank you.
Great. All right. If you guys are okay, I'm gonna actually end with Linda, just because I am very hungry. My stomach is talking to me. So Linda, tell us a little bit about what you got going on here.
Well, that was a painting from a previous class and it didn't have the gold layers of clouds in the middle, but I thought it needed something lighter up there. And the gold on the bottom, I just took like a pale gray and just scumbled over the whole thing.
Mm.
And I think that it still needs some more scumbling over the two dark sides on the top. I just think it's too dark. I just tried to scumble. You said our lesson was to scumble over something that we'd previously done. And that was my experiment. And I failed.
No, I think it actually has a very atmospheric, very interesting feeling. So did you scumble the darks or the lights?
I scumbled everything, the darks and the lights.
Oh, okay.
I scumbled the yellow. The yellow was so bright. It was when I first got my tube of Indian yellow.
Overdosed.
I had an overdose on that. And I've been looking at it now for months and I'm going, oh God, I've got to do something. So I think maybe if I come back and scumble over it again, that it might, I don't know. What do you think?
I actually really, I mean, it's very atmospheric. It's very moody. I think you've got a good thing going. Typically, for the most part, this doesn't go for everything, but scumbling would be reserved where you wanted to add like the fog. So scumbling often is used for lightening a thing. If you're gonna add white for the most part, you're probably gonna wanna scumble, not always. You're probably not gonna wanna glaze, you'll probably wanna do scumbling. So that worked out. I think this one looks really nice.
Hmm.
Very moody, very foggy. I mean, your pictures are always so, you always feel like an illustration to a book or to some poem or something.
Oh, goodness.
I can really see that going on in here. Yes, your darkest darks are here pretty much,
Yeah.
which is kind of an odd spot. Like I would think they would be, you know, in the foreground or closer, I don't know. So that, yes, I feel like these darks are dark, but it also, because it feels poetic, it doesn't bother me too much. I wouldn't have probably gravitated to this too much too quickly. Yeah, I like your soft gradations in the sky. I mean, this again, like it just really feels like a very, very foggy scene. So I'm not positive what to say about it.
You
Do
wanna-
the yellows kind of fade back and get a little more controlled, or do they still feel wild and crazy to you?
The trees?
No, the Indian yellow.
Oh, the Indian yellow looks a little bright, but I wanted to put actually some like a pale red, like right along the treetops, because when the sun comes up, even on the bayou and on the St. Lawrence River, it would sometimes have this little bright orange kind of, but I didn't want any more color in it. I wanted it more soft. So it wasn't a good painting to scumble on. And
I don't know. I
I'll
think it
I'll have to
reads
stumble
well.
something else.
I like it. I think that you got a lot of interesting things going on. It does become about up here because these are, our eyes are attracted to edges. And so these are much harder edged than these are, but that can be fine. I mean, it can be literally, like you said, just like a whole bunch of fog sitting on the ground, and then it kind of right about this area dissipates. And you know, when the fog is lying low on the ground, you can see that sometimes. So
Well, we see that a lot out here. But the next painting below that one is one that I did. Oh, not that one. I just did that because of, that's not the one I meant. But you can talk about it if you want, but that's the one.
I gotta go. This is Sandy. See you next week.
Okay,
great having you, Sandy. Take care.
All right, bye.
Bye, Sandy.
it doesn't photograph very well, shucks. I'll have to take a better picture of it.
Is that the painting that's behind you on your easel?
Yeah,
I noticed that today, that it was a nice painting.
the this is the painting here. I don't know if you can see I remember walking with my dad in the woods with the sun shining through the trees, and it was like a veil of light, and I wanted to capture that from my childhood memories of I'm walking in the leaves and he's saying, Linda, you're making too much noise. They're also gonna hear us, you know. So that was my idea for this painting. I just had to work that out in my system. And it would have these great, the light would be like this white, and it's wet still, so I'm touching it. Would be all just, it would be just a sheet of white, just white area, you know. But anyway,
Are those yellow maple trees?
they were just oaks and maple trees and all kind of trees in the woods.
I like the light across the ground. It's really cool.
Yeah, it looks pretty.
And the light would be filtering through, and the trees were just, you know, so beautiful, and it smelled so wonderful. And I always for me, smells always were paramount, like when I walked out in the woods.
Mhm.
But I guess because my grandfather, every time he came to visit and I'd run and he'd pick me up and throw me up in the air, I could smell the woods on him. I could smell the green, the trees, and because he was a
Oh,
woods,
cool.
he was like a Daniel Boone kind of character.
No,
He's serious.
I think there's a lot of magic in it. I think you've captured a lot of it. It's so difficult. You are always painting from memories and ideas and thoughts. And like you say, you wake up and like, okay, I gotta paint this, I gotta get it out of my head, which makes it difficult to help very much.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh,
Well,
that's all right, but it's just that it's just like, yeah, okay, yeah, this painting
Yeah,
reminds
Brenda.
me of how your uncle smelled. It's
You
not
know-
easy to critique that or to really help with that. And I don't ever, again, I never want to take that away from you. You're just, again, you're an illustrator of all these thoughts and ideas, and you're, you know, doing these interesting things. But it does make it a little bit difficult to say, you know, oh, this could happen or this could happen to make it better.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just gave Hassan a challenge. My challenge to you is, I know you have such great memories of the bayou and all of your other life experiences, but you do live in a beautiful area and you take beautiful photos. I would really like you to paint a couple pictures from your mornings and your current existence, your current life.
Okay. Well, yesterday evening, we were going to this meeting and I snapped pictures along the way, and the sunset over the mountain was so magnificent. And it's all in grays and browns and golds. And so I think I may take one of the palettes that, and try it. And
Good, yeah. I think if you can give us something a little more that we can attach to, literally a reference photo or, you know, a couple reference photos. You know, and again, I appreciate you share all the work, you know, share whatever you want to share. But I think for me to be able to help you, I have to have a little more of a connection versus a memory from when you were 6.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Could
Okay,
you-
I understand, but I have some of these paintings on the walls are dreams, and I wake up with that image in my head. If I don't paint it, it keeps reoccurring until I.
I'm not telling you not to paint anything. I'm just telling you, plus those, paint this other thing.
I
Can
know.
you find something in Pinterest or something that comes close, even after you paint it, like the woods that you're talking about that you just showed us? Can you go
Well-
in Pinterest now and find something that's close to it?
I tried to, but
Doesn't move.
I see a lot of the swamps and the stuff like that I was used to, you know, paddling through in a boat in a pirogue that my grandfather made, and he used to hand carve these beautiful wooden pirogues that were just unbelievable, and lived across the bayou. And I have images of those things in my head, you know, that just won't go away. So
Yeah, I'm definitely not saying don't paint that. You're just gonna have to paint a little bit more.
okay. Okay.
And the truth is, painting, like, you know, because I did start off as an illustrator doing children's books and things. And the truth is that the more real paintings I did, the more I was able to describe the more fantastical scenes. Because I was, you know, out observing and capturing that sense of reality, then it made, even if it was a fantastical scene of a dragon and a bear dancing together, you know, I would have this reality that I could attach it to. And so, yeah, I love your paintings. I love your whole sense of self and being and all of this. But I think as an instructor, it's very hard for me to critique or give you feedback on a memory from a little kid.
Okay. Because
Yeah.
I'm sure that it's not exactly like this. And there were cypress trees and you know, moss hanging. I didn't put that because most people don't understand moss. So I just tried to do something just to get the image out of my head.
Yes,
Images
which I
in
want you to do. Wanna help us all get everything out of our heads.
Images, I can see my dad, and I can smell the earth and see the
I think
sun
that's
shining
cool.
through the trees and the
No, they're
colors.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's-
so just so I'm not being misconstrued, I
No.
definitely do not want you for 1 second to stop painting all these amazing things that, what you're doing with your niece or cousin, all this stuff. I want you to continue to do it. But as an instructor to be able to help, I think we have to have a media, somewhere that we can meet, that I can say, aha,
Okay,
here's what's not happening in the image that you might want to capture. You know what I mean?
yes, I do. I do. I-
Okay. So
but
keep
I-
painting. I'm just adding 2 more hours to your day.
I know. Thank you so much. I'll have to cut my nap down to 30 minutes.
Yeah, well, just tell your husband that for the next 4 weeks, you are not allowed to do the dishes.
Oh,
Or the laundry.
or the laundry. Well, he does the laundry and he cooks, so I wash the dishes. So
No, not anymore, sorry. You
Yeah.
need that time for painting.
thank you, Michael. I appreciate you.
Yeah, you're awesome, Linda. Thank you.
Can I
All
ask a
right.
really quick question or a big favor? So I did try scumbling, but I know you're hungry, so
Oh,
do you
no,
think,
that's all right. I can smell my wife is cooking actually, so I'll let her
Do
finish.
do you think after you eat, you could just look at the scumbling and give me a little feedback if it's
No,
enough?
let's do it. We'll do it right now here. My wife is cooking. I can smell, so that's nice. I think she's awake and hopefully feeling better. So share screen is what I need to do.
Sorry, guys. I need to drop.
Are you guys seeing the Padlet?
Yes.
No, Padlet's gone. We're seeing your computer screen, I
Oh,
think.
yeah.
You are screen sharing. Stop sharing. Share screen. All right, well, Hassan, take care.
Yeah. See you next time. Take care, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Good evening.
All right, so Lisa, are we seeing your picture now?
No,
Oh, who is that?
no. I thought I uploaded it. How about this? How about I upload, I don't know where the new one is. Well, it should say 20-minute scumble.
It does.
what it
That's what it
says, yeah.
does.
I don't think the new picture took. How about I upload it while you have a lunch? Could you look at it later?
Sure, are you able to join us at all tomorrow?
I can try super fast.
But it does say 20-minute scumble on it.
Yeah, but that's not it. That's
Oh.
last week's. I'm so sorry. I've had all this time to do that and double check and I didn't. Tomorrow at, yeah,
9 to noon.
yeah, I can try to join it at
See.
9. It's 9 o'clock?
Yep,
Ugh,
and Linda, will you be able to join us too? Beautiful work, love to talk about it. And Meg, I think Meg is not able to make it to our Thursdays, but
I'll be there tomorrow.
yeah, great job, Meg.
Oh,
This
that's
is so
beautiful.
much better. It's really coming along.
Boy.
That's
Oh, yeah.
oh,
He gets up at, you know.
I'm not even sure if Meg is here still or not.
I'm still here.
Yeah, it's coming along great. Much better, much more inviting, much, less heavy.
That's pretty.
Thank you.
What a
So
big
being with
difference.
somebody who's creative is.
Ah. I like your big wasp nest. It's awesome. All right, so Lisa, if we're able to join you tomorrow, we'll definitely talk about it. And Meg, we'll start with you and Linda next week. If that's okay.
yeah,
No
I'll
problem.
probably have to just join for a few minutes, but
Okay,
yeah. So sorry.
yeah, sorry that didn't work out. But yeah, I look forward to seeing you.
That's what I call somebody that cares about their mother, right?
All right, everybody, I think we're gonna call it a day and hopefully you enjoy lunches about as much as I'm about to. And thanks, so your assignment is to just, play with a limited palette. And whatever that is, it doesn't have to be bright pink and crazy green and, whatever you wanna do. Just kind of create a harmonized, interesting palette. And play with that and see how that goes. And anyways, I had a great time today. Sorry for going so very long, but that's what happens. Look forward to seeing some of you tomorrow. Lisa, hopefully you can make it. And Lisa, feel free to email it to me too.
Okay,
That might be easier because I can load it to your Padlet and that way I can take a look and maybe we can even have a chat this evening if you're available.
okay, thank you so much. I'm so sorry. I
Oh,
don't know.
no, don't worry. Yeah, no, technology's a bummer for everybody. If
Okay,
you ever learn how to use it well, then you can teach us all.
okay, thank you. Thanks,
All right,
everybody.
Good evening.
Nyla, have a great trip, and Reggie, so good to see you. I can't wait to see everybody's work either tomorrow or next week.
Okay, thank you.
See you tomorrow.
Bye. Thank you, Michael.
Bye.
Bye, Denise.
Have a great day, everybody.
Better.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.